Alright, here's a solo 3DR quadcopter test. This is about my 6th or 7th flight, and I'm flying pretty slow. And I started the recording when it was in flight. I wanted to start the recording at the beginning before it lifted off, but I forgot to activate the camera, so I kind of lowered the craft and started up. I'm flying very slowly. It's probably in turtle mode, which means it's at a slow setting where you can't go out of control too quickly or too fast. So you're going to make slow moves, which is actually what I want. I want a cinematic slow move, and I'm flying a GoPro Hero 4 Black, but I'm flying at 1920 by 1080 and 30 frames per second. The reason I'm flying at a lower than ideal frame rate for a cinema type shot is, which would be 2.7K at 60 frames a second. The reason I'm doing that is my memory card is a U1 memory card, class 10 U1. It should be a U3 for 4K. I didn't buy the memory cards for my GoPros for 4K recording, so for higher frame rates at 2.7K, I found that sometimes the recording will stop with the card. Now you can see I kind of panned a little fast here, so there might have been a little bit of might not have been quite as smooth. I want to get to the sunset, so now I'm trying to do a very slow pan. But I found sometimes that when you're moving, you get a better. Maybe if you combine a pan with a slow move, you get a more cinematic effect. I'm trying to get a survey of the horizon, kind of a survey establishing shot. And my goal, my cable cam, actually I want to do a multi-point cable cam, or a cable cam and then go into an orbit. But I'm not advanced enough for that yet, so I'm just going to try to do a simple cable cam. And when you do a cable cam, it will set up a point A to point B, like a zip line from like point A to point B, an imaginary zip line in space. And your camera move, your positioning of the camera and your move will be saved in space. So I'm try to start with a frame, and I'm going to be a little conservative because when I fly, I want to be able to fly faster later on the cable cam. And if I fly at too fast a speed, I'm really not flying in acrobatic mode, so this probably won't be an issue, but I don't want the solo to lose, in case it loses height during a fly. But it's not going to do it in turtle mode. I found this out later. In case it would lose height or have an issue, that might have been an earlier version of the software too. I don't want it to like drop and go too low. So I'm still being very conservative. I kind of have a high height, which is pretty good framing anyways. So this is my starting framing basically. I'm kind of settled on this. I want to show the track, the football field. The idea actually originally, like I have an envisioned idea, which would be we'd have like somebody on a track about to run, and the solo would be below them and fly along kind of beside them. You can see that my flight path isn't exactly straight here, but we can correct it for the cable cam later if we want. So I'm basically flying a slow path down here to get to the end point and then find the end point. I'm not sure I'm flying as slow as I can, but I'm flying actually might be flying as fast as I can in turtle speed actually. There's sliders in the drone that can tell you how to fly faster or slower. I'm trying to settle on a framing here. I want to highlight the observatory, but you can see there's a new concession stand over here to the left, so it's kind of a nice framing, so I'm going to show that too. So that's the end framing. Now what's happening is I'm flying backwards in cable cam mode. I'm actually executing a fly backwards, and you can see it's doing an ease in and out to the framing from the one to the other. And when I get back and I want to actually do the cable cam and go forward, what happens is I realize at the sunset there's some nice pinkness on the clouds, the gray clouds from the sun setting, and I'm like, well, when I get back to the end, you're going to see the cable cam actually in reverse. I can actually go back and play this later if I want. So it's actually kind of slowed down. See how it slowed down there? Kind of eased into the, did kind of an ease in and out. So here I am. I'm going to do a height. I've abandoned the cable cam. I went into fly mode. And I panned to the right by mistake, but it's because the controls reversed. I'm a new pilot, so it's like, oh, I'm going to the right. Then I start to like move to the right a little bit. I'm like, well, that's not where I want to be. I I want to kind of go back to where the cable cam was, or kind of go over the track. So now I'm turning. When I say pan, when you're actually flying the bird, you're actually yawing the bird and rotating the bird to do a pan with the solo. It could be a little jumpy. It'd be smoother if I was filming at 60 frames a second instead of 30. But I went to 30 because I wanted to get. I didn't want to have an issue with even at 1920 by 1080. I didn't know if I'd have an issue with too much frame rate, have a problem with the camera saying the SIM card can't support the speed of the recording. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually doing a move. I'm moving sideways slowly, and I decided to combine it with a little bit of a pan. Try to get a different reveal. I want to get kind of a smooth reveal. The reason I want to make slow moves is I want them kind of cinematic, and I'm only doing 30 frames per second, so I'm trying to avoid a jello effect you're going to get with the CMOS sensor. If you have a higher frame rate, you might get quicker captures and avoid some jello effect. This isn't a global shutter camera. If I had something like a, there's another company that makes a camera that's small like the GoPro, but it's not a direct, I can't do control unless I had some kind of a hack into that camera to mount it, and had like a separate gimbal and somehow did like some kind of open source hack to the solo drone, which some people can do. But there's another small camera that's built by another company that will give global shutter, but that's not. The solo is built for the GoPro 3 and 4. So the Hero 3 and 4 GoPro cameras is what this is built for, designed for. And even the people that wrote the software in the company, everybody that worked for the company, this is an open source drone, so anybody can hack and create software for this, and people do. So there's like an open source community, and there some people sell software that they've created. Like Solex is one of them. It's another way to operate the Solo, which is pretty powerful. And there's another app called Tower, which is another app that people have written. So I'm still flying pretty conservatively, obviously. I'm trying to find a frame. I'm doing a little bit of a panning. I'm trying to frame up where I want to have a nice shot of the sunset. And then I'm going to kind of lower it to get kind of a shot of the observatory. Have a nice opening shot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from this, when I finally decide to start my starting point, highlight the observatory, and I'm just going to go up to reveal the sunset. So I'm going to ascend, then I'll pan down, but I kind of do it too quickly. You'll see that later. So I'm kind of rising up, and I decide I want to go up kind of high and fly high. Now what's interesting is I hit the flight limit here. I mean, there's no planes on the horizon, anybody's flying around here. That beep in the background is my phone. I have a watch that told me how long I slept last night. So here we are. I was wearing it. So here we are. We're at the high height, and basically I pan down. But I basically either at this point or a little bit later, I feel a little bit above the light post, which I normally don't do, but I feel a little bit above the light post because I want to get a good shot of the horizon. And I actually hit the. I think it was during this flight, I hit a warning that I hit the peak altitude. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, how did I hit peak altitude? Because peak altitude, this drone is geofenced to not fly more than 400 feet above the ground, which is the law. But what I did was to be conservative, there's a setting where you can set the highest height you can fly, and I got the warning as if I was hitting 400 feet. It just said peak height. And I actually have this set for 120 feet, so we're right around 120 feet. I think I did a quick ascent later, and I got to like about, it actually went a little bit past it, so it was at about 124 feet. It also did give me a warning, which is kind of interesting, but I don't think it would let me go higher than 124. So the surface ceiling that you set is pretty cool in the app, and it limits you from flying too high. And you can see I'm kind of hovering here. I actually had to go back from this high ceiling, automatically let itself come down at the higher rate. and then I went to fly mode and took over. I might have even hit pause first. So that's my flight.